Your brain is ancient. Your nervous system is ancient. And it was built for survival, not self-expression. You cannot build a big life with a nervous system that collapses under the weight of other people's opinions. Your actual life does not shift when someone else reacts. It only shifts when you react. People are going to judge you whether you play small or whether you play big. The fear of judgment is almost never about the present moment. It's actually about welcome to Rich and Regulated, where women learn to build wealth in alignment and flow. I'm Jessica Soul. For over a decade, I've helped women create the lives of their dreams, and here I'll share how I build wealth, fast-track results, and reveal money truths that will blow your mind. Let's get wealthy. I want to open up this conversation with a sentence that has quite literally changed my life, and I don't say this lightly. But your life is the same whether they support you or whether they judge you. Your life is the same whether they follow you or whether they unfollow you. And whether they cheer loudly or watch quietly from the sidelines or whisper about you behind closed doors, whether they love everything you do or quietly roll their eyes with every move that you make, your actual lived life, the one you wake up in, breathe in, feed your children in, make decisions in, build wealth in, it actually doesn't change based on the opinions of somebody else. The only thing that happens is you change. We all do, right? We change the moment we decide that someone else's reaction means something about us. We change when judgment feels like a threat. We change when our nervous system hasn't yet learned that we're safe inside of our own expansion. And I want to speak about that deeply and honestly today. Because if there's one thing I see over and over again in clients, in my community, and honestly, sometimes in myself too, it's that fear of judgment that shapes more lives than failure ever will. And so let's talk a little bit about the psychology behind that, because your brain is ancient, your nervous system is ancient, and it was built for survival, not self-expression. This is something a lot of people don't understand, that for most of human history, if the group rejected you, you actually didn't survive. Rejection wasn't embarrassing, it was literally fatal. And so even now, thousands of years later, when someone unfollows you on social media or disagrees with you or leaves a nasty comment, misreads you, misunderstands you, pulls away and silently doesn't communicate with you, your body is still actually reacting as if danger is present. But it's not your mindset, it's actually your biology. Your nervous system whispering, please don't let them think badly of me. Please don't let them misunderstand me. Please don't let me lose my belonging or my perception of belonging. And when you're growing and becoming someone bigger than the identity you've always inhabited, the stakes feel even higher, right? So every brave move carries the thought, what will they think? And beneath that, will it be safe? And I'll be honest with you, I still feel like this all the freaking time. Like even right now, talking about it, I still have that niggle, right, at the back of my mind. So even with the life I've built, the community that I lead, the wealth that I hold, that fear of judgment doesn't just vanish into thin air. It just becomes something that you learn to walk with rather than collapse under. And I still have moments where like I hit post and I think, is this going to trigger someone? Should I delete this? Will this be misunderstood? Is this going to stir the pot at Christmas lunch? Who's judging me? Who have I hurt? And I've learned something beautiful in those moments. Courage is not the absence of that fear. Courage is just the decision to do it anyway. And let me bring a little bit of storytelling into this, because I used to rule my life in ways that I didn't even notice. And Christmas, being around this time of year, is a big example, right? So there were years, way too many years, where I bought presents for people that I couldn't actually afford because I didn't want to be judged as stingy. There were times when I said yes to every event, even when I was exhausted, because I didn't want anyone to think that I didn't care. Where I spent money, time, and emotional energy that I didn't have just to maintain an image of being like the good girl, the agreeable one, the reliable one. And it actually wasn't generosity. It wasn't devotion. It wasn't even love. It was actually fear. Fear dressed up as niceness, fear of judgment being disguised as being a good daughter, a good friend, a good woman, a good partner, a good daughter-in-law. And I know that there are so many of you still doing this. You're over-functioning because you're terrified of disappointing someone. You're draining your finances because you're likely terrified of looking selfish. You're bending your boundaries because you're terrified of being misunderstood. And I want to talk about why. Because the fear of judgment is almost never about the present moment. It's actually about your blueprint. It's about the family you grew up in, the way love worked in your home, whether your parents had an emotional capacity to validate your needs, whether you were taught that approval and love were the same thing, whether you learned to walk softly because someone in your house had a fragile nervous system, or if you grew up with a parent whose disappointment felt like punishment. Of course, you're going to try to avoid judgment. Just quickly, guys, if you're a woman who's earning well but still feels like your money isn't working for you, I can help. My Build Your Wealth portal is the perfect place to begin, and for less than $100 a month, I'll teach you the exact groundwork that has allowed me to create freedom for my family. Just hit the link in the show notes to connect into my community today. Now back to the episode. Another example, if you grew up with a parent who shut down when you expressed yourself, of course, you have learned to scan for those cues. And if you grew up with chaos, of course, you're going to try and keep the peace at your own expense. None of this is a flaw, by the way. This is just conditioning. And here you are now as a grown woman with a massive destiny for her life, still carrying those child strategies along with you. Staying safe, keeping small. And the irony is that you're actually safe now. You just haven't taught yourself or your nervous system to understand that. So let's deepen this a little bit. We actually do not fear judgment because of what the person will say. We fear judgment because of what we think it means about us. So if someone disapproves, we think it proves we are wrong. If someone unfollows us, we think it means we've failed. If someone says, "Who does she think she is?" we think it confirms our deepest insecurities. But judgment isn't painful. The meaning we put to the judgment is the painful part. And what I've learned is this: you cannot build a big life with a nervous system that collapses under the weight of other people's opinions. And you cannot be the woman who expands her wealth, who raises her standards, who builds a business, changes her lineage, and steps into an extraordinary identity while still living like your safety depends on whether other people approve of you or not. Because your safety depends on you. And yet here's the part that will liberate you the most. If you're wealthy and they judge you, you're still going to be wealthy, babe. If you're aligned and they judge you, you're still aligned. If you're becoming her and they judge you, you're still becoming her, because your actual life does not shift when someone else reacts. It only shifts when you react. And this is why judgment becomes irrelevant when you understand the psychology behind it. Because people judge your expansion purely because your expansion confronts their stagnation. People will judge your courage because your courage exposes where they're in avoidance. People will judge your abundance because your abundance is highlighting their scarcity. And they'll judge your boundaries because your boundaries reveal the places where they have none. And so at the end of the day, remember this: they are not judging you. They're reacting to themselves. And when you deeply understand that, you can just stop taking any of it personally. So let me deepen it a little bit further. And one of the biggest awakenings I've had is this: people are going to judge you whether you play small or whether you play big. People will judge you whether you stay silent or whether you speak loudly. People will judge you whether you choose wealth or choose mediocrity. But your experience of life is only elevated in one of these scenarios. And judgment is always going to be inevitable. So why not choose the path that benefits you the most? And this is why the greatest transformation that a woman can make is actually not external, it's internal. It's nervous system based, it's identity based. It's when she decides, I will no longer contort myself to be palatable. I will no longer sacrifice my financial reality to buy approval. I will no longer shrink my ambition to make other people comfortable. I will no longer build my life on the fragile foundations of other people's opinions. And this is when everything changes. So I want to offer you the reframe that changed the way I show up forever. What if your new standard was this? I can love people deeply without sacrificing myself on the altar of their approval. I can be generous without betraying my own boundaries. I can be kind without abandoning my truth. I can be visible without requiring unanimous applause. I can disappoint people and still be a good woman. I can be misunderstood and still be safe. And I can keep rising even when someone wishes I wouldn't. Let me ask you, what if your nervous system learned that judgment isn't a threat? It's simply just noise. And what if your truest measure of your evolution becomes how little you let that noise determine your direction? Because here's the ultimate truth that I want to leave with you today. Your life does not move when they approve. Your life moves when you move. Your timeline expands when you expand. Your wealth grows when you choose aligned decisions. Your identity is going to rise when you choose to rise. Your destiny shifts when you step forward, not when they clap. Their judgment does not get the final say. Your self-ownership does. And when that becomes your internal truth, you walk into a life that finally feels like yours. If this episode has spoken to you, you absolutely need to be inside of my free community. It's a judgment-free zone and we are having so much fun. Check the show notes below. I'll see you there. If you've gotten value from today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave a 5-star review. And if you're ready for more support in building regulated wealth strategies, check out the link in the show notes. Have a beautiful day.